Let's link up with Peter King from NBC Sports. Kind of have to spend some time with us here Monday in the Herd. And Peter, everyone's talking about these rookie quarterbacks. Let's start with Sam Darnold, who of course tore it up for the New York Jets. And look, I started by saying no one that I know in football thought their trade was a smart trade. But didn't they luck into getting Sam Darnold, who was many people's number one quarterback prospect at the third pick?
Well, I don't know, Doug. I thought that Baker Mayfield was the best quarterback in this crop. And this was a very beauties in the eye of the beholder draft for quarterbacks. There's some people, if you gave them the first pick, they would have taken Josh Allen. Some would have taken Mayfield. Some would have taken Darnold. Maybe some, although I don't know, who would have taken Josh Rosen. And to me, when I look at this quarterback draft, I kind of look at, you look at the history of quarterbacks being drafted. Sam Darnold, it's almost 50-50 whether he's going to succeed or fail. And so many of the factors are beyond his control. So I don't look at this and say, man, the Jets got lucky in getting Darnold. You might look at it in 5 years and say, oh, my God, the Jets blew it by not taking Josh Allen.
Let me ask you about these rookie quarterbacks. Who's the most likely to start the soonest?
Oh, my gut feeling is probably Josh Allen. He seems to have the clearest path to starterdom in Buffalo. But I think Darnold, if Darnold's the best guy, especially in the third preseason game, I think he's got a very good chance to start. The thing I like about Allen early on is that, I was in their camp and I talked to general manager Brandon Beane, and he goes, because he knows that everybody thinks, hey, take your time with Josh Allen. He played at Wyoming, was not an accurate guy. Make sure he is all there before you use him. And he doesn't feel that way at all. He said, we are playing the best guy to win opening day. So, that's a little bit of a different attitude than you have in Cleveland, and quite frankly, you have in Arizona right now with Josh Rosen.
All right, let's go to Cleveland because they are interesting. You have John Dorsey, who comes from Kansas City. Peter King joining us from NBC Sports. Doug Gottlieb in for Colin here in the Herd on Fox Sports Radio and Fox Sports 1. So Dorsey comes over from Kansas City, where couldn't have worked out any better for them, right? Get to the playoffs with Alex Smith. Mahomes plays the preseason, plays week 17. He's now the guy. 1 year later, he redshirted essentially a season. He's ready to go. I think that's what Dorsey would like to do. And he has Tyrod Taylor, who led the Bills to the playoffs even after they benched him. But it's different when you have Baker. Baker seems to be ready to play. You said you thought he was the best quarterback of the class. And he's the number one overall pick. And they need hope in Cleveland. What do you think Cleveland ultimately does?
They start Tyrod Taylor opening day, and then as the season goes on, they just see, if Mayfield is ready. He's a precocious guy. And see if he's ready. And then I think the other part of this is, so 2 weeks ago today, I'm in Browns camp, and I asked Hugh Jackson about Mayfield, and I didn't even say, so are you sticking with your decision? He just volunteered this. He goes, Peter, I am not changing my mind on the quarterback. Tyrod Taylor is starting, and someday Baker Mayfield is going to thank me for this. And, Doug, I go back to 2003 and look at the redshirt year that Carson Palmer had. And Carson Palmer really was the better for that, even coming out of USC. So I think the majority of this season, as my gut feeling, Baker Mayfield will not be the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns.
Okay, will Des Bryant be a wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns?
Boy, when I was there, people really poo-pooed that to me. Now, I guess I would just ask this question: Do you want to bring an incendiary guy into a place that is essentially you're trying to get the chemistry right, you're trying to get it right? I'm in Oxnard today at the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys would tell you that, at times this was an explosive guy, as much off the field as on. And he was not a great player the last 2 years. To me, I don't think it'd be a terrible move for the Browns to do that, but I certainly don't think it's a fait accompli.
You mentioned that you're in Cowboys camp. I was up there about a week ago, and the thing that struck me is one, how the kind of the younger group had now kind of taken over. The old guard, for the most part, is gone, which leaves a little bit of a leadership void. Even if Dak is the leader, he's not as vocal leader as some in the past. But I looked at that wide receiver core. You lose Witten, you lose Dez. And there really is no number one. There's a bunch of 2s and 3s. And I get that they feel like, hey, we're gonna make you have to load up to stop Zeke, and that's going to create one-on-one. But do they have the weapons to create space for Dak to be able to put balls into windows? He's not crazy accurate. He wasn't throwing guys open last year, and it doesn't feel like they have guys that demand a double team. I guess I'm wondering your thoughts on that wide receiving core and combined with the tight end core.
This place reminds me an awful lot of San Francisco. I was at the 49ers yesterday. You know, you've got one guy in the tight end and wide receiver core, Marquise Goodwin, who I think can be probably a special player. And other than that, you have got to find these guys. You've got to invent these guys. And that's why I think, I think the Jason Witten loss here is a significant loss. And I'm not saying they don't have guys to replace him, but I think, Doug, in a time like this, now we're going to see how good a teaching staff Jason Garrett has assembled. I think that's vitally important for the 2018 Cowboys, not only to get your quarterback back on track and make sure he's more like 2017 or 16 than he was 17, but to basically make sure that all of these guys in your receiving core and at tight end, you know, get on the same page and get good chemistry with Dak Prescott from opening day on.
Oddshark has the Packers as the most likely destination after October for Khalil Mack. He's still not in camp with the Raiders. There was limited, if any, communication between he and John Gruden up to this point. What's your feel on how that goes down in Oakland?
I can't believe that Mark Davis would either approve of the trade of Khalil Mack or trade him himself. That would be a nightmare scenario. You do not trade a potential Hall of Fame pass rusher as he enters his prime. You've got to pay him, period. The cap keeps going up, and you've got to be able to do business in this league. If you if you trade Khalil Mack, in my opinion, you're admitting that you can't do business in the modern NFL. And if you can't do that, in my opinion, then Mark Davis should get a partner, a deep-pocketed partner who's going to help him with things like the signing bonus for guys you have to get paid.
Publicly, the new helmet rule, the new contact rule with the crown of the helmet is being panned. People don't like it. There's flags everywhere, and you almost feel like you watch the Cardinals game against the Chargers. You can't even make a legal tackle anymore. Privately, what are NFL people saying about how this rule is being used?
I ran into Jaquaski Tard, a hard-hitting safety for the 49ers yesterday at 49er camp, and I was talking to him about it, and he goes, and this is cliche, but I can tell you a lot of defensive players feel this way. He said, looks like it's turning into flag football or two-hand touch. And I think a lot of people fear that. Doug, I think this is a good and admirable attempt by the NFL. I really, really do. I think it has to be done. I think you have to say to the moms and dads of America, send your kids to play football. We're going to make it safe, or as safe as we can make it. Do I think it's going to have some debacle type effects? Absolutely, unequivocally. Do I think they should be doing this? I still do. I might change my mind after 4 or 5 weeks, but this has to be done for the future of the game.
Peter, I could not agree with you more. Let me let you go with this. Kirk Cousins being called a savior. I look at it, and I think we talk about so many other teams, so many other interesting teams. Here's a team got to the NFC Championship game with arguably their third quarterback and with a backup running back. Now they got Dalvin Cook back, and they got Kirk Cousins, who did a lot with a little in Washington. The Vikings, a team that people should think the most of, even in that NFC North, even with a healthy Aaron Rodgers.
I think they're the best team in the NFC North, but again, we've never seen Kirk Cousins play winning, great football in January. He's got to prove that he can win playoff games and play very well in playoff games. He hasn't done it. I mean, it's easy to make statements in August, and I really like Kirk Cousins for a lot of reasons, mostly football ones. But he's got to do it. This is not having to do with liking a guy's personality or commanding the huddle or whatever. You got to play well in January for that contract to be justified.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.